All right, let's go Joe Flacco Award. This is for a 35-plus-year-old guy.
In 6 days, it's his birthday. He turns 36. It's Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I was thinking about going chalky too, because how could you not? I mean, like the guy
4,000 yards.
The guy was incredible.
Yeah.
And when you talk to quarterbacks that have played a long time, if you ask them, how's Matt Stafford going to play? I asked Jay Cutler, and Jay was like, oh, he'll play for like another 5 years. He's got a jugs machine on his shoulder.
Crazy.
Like, to have that ability, I guess it's like being Darryl Green. You can play till you're 38 at corner or whatever, or 40. Mm-hmm. Thanks to Toyota and the brand new Toyota Tacoma. Next week, we'll be broadcasting from the NFL Media Center in Las Vegas from the most badass set in all of Radio Row. That's right, the all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma with its trail-dominating power, legendary capability, and captivating style is arriving in dealerships. And it's arriving at the 2024 Super Bowl in Las Vegas as we are helping Toyota launch the all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma. That's right. It's going to be right next to me. You'll be able to see the all-new best-selling midsize pickup in America featured on the Greenlight podcast set recorded from the Tacoma Content Studio. The all-new Toyota Tacoma dares you to come out and play. The all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma, the most powerful Tacoma ever, is your chance to experience trail-dominating power, legendary capability, and captivating style. It's time to make your off-roading dreams come true. With the 2024 Toyota Tacoma, a truck that's tough on the trail and easy on the eyes, electrifying power, maximum torque, the all-new Toyota Tacoma is the most powerful Tacoma ever. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL. Awards. Okay, like these are going to be, I'll read you the awards. Okay, the greatest show on turf award. That's going to be the favorite offense that you watched this season. 85 Bears Award. Kev.
Defense.
Favorite defense you watched this season. The Bill Walsh Award, that goes to the top offensive coordinator. The Belichick Award goes to the top defensive coordinator. And then your favorite color analyst or moment, that's the John Madden Award. The Randy Moss Award is a contract year player that balled out. The Flacco Award is for an old guy that did work this year. The Slater Award is for a special teams player that excelled. And then the Big Dick Nick Award goes to a backup quarterback that you really enjoyed watching this season. Okay, maybe I left that one out.
Okay.
You got time.
I got time.
Okay. So first up, we got the greatest show on turf award. Make what you got.
The Miami Dolphins, when it was good. Specifically, they win 70-20 over the Denver Broncos. Achane went for 200 plus. The Cheetah went for 150 plus. They ran for 350 and threw for 350. There was no Waddle in that game, but Robbie Chosen went 1 for 68 and a touchdown. Now, Robbie Chosen, 6'3", 170 pounds. You don't often see that measurable.
No, that's
in the National
comp for you.
Football League. It is. Only offense that averaged over 400 yards a game. I know it had its shortcomings.
Yes.
When it was working, it was the best of San Francisco mixed with, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah, when it did not matter, they were incredible. And I'm not even trying to.
No, that's fair.
When in games that you didn't look at the opponent and say, "Hey, this is a big game," or "This is a good defense," I still don't understand the delta between their play in situations where it's stressful and in situations where it's not, because not even the best offenses in history had games like they had against some of the mop-up duty type teams.
And Mostert was setting records and probably the number 2 back. I mean, when Achane was healthy, he was the guy.
Madden. Yeah. They really were. I went a different way. I went with like a single performance, but like I can give you 3 nominees and then I'll give you the winner. Flacco against Houston.
Yep.
That was a wow. Like him and Cooper played the most beautiful game of catch ever.
Regular season.
Regular season game of catch. And it was a game of catch. Like, it was like, I'm just going to throw you the ball again. They didn't have a kicker in that game, so they kept going for it on like 4th and 8. It was like, whoops, fuck, I'm not trying to run the score up. I just don't have a kicker. What do you want me to do? CJ Stroud against the Bengals, that was his coming out party for me. It felt like one of those moments where you were like, okay, this guy's him. And the fact that it was Joe Burrow, and I've said this before, he reminds me of Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow reminded me of Brady. Now, people at home who are simpletons don't understand the nuance in this conversation. I'm not saying that he's going to be Tom Brady. I'm not saying that I think he's going to be Joe Burrow. I'm not saying he's going to win 6, 7 championships. But what I am saying is they have some pocket traits that are winning characteristics, like big time winning characteristics. Like, we just heard Shane talking about CJ Stroud, and the one thing that he said that kind of perked my ears up, his eyes are downfield. He's always able to fix his gaze on the secondary, on the routes that are breaking in front of him without looking down at the rush. And the pocket mobility, the stuff he does in the pocket's incredible. And that game was like a masterclass from a rookie quarterback in a stressful situation. That was a good defense. And on the road, the Rams and the Ravens, watching the Rams, some of the Rams touchdown drives this year were the Rams' best touchdown drives were the prettiest drives I saw any team execute all season, because of just the balls that Matt Stafford threw, the revelation that was Puka Nacua, reviving that run game. Like,
the balance.
When McVay has that run game, it's as pretty an offense as there is to watch in the NFL. And basically, you were watching that historic offense that he had with Jared Goff with no shots at Goff. I count Matthew Stafford as a top 5, 6 quarterback. Even at this age, he's still got it. And that was so fun to watch. I'm going to give it to CJ Stroud. I mean, yep. I don't know that I had more fun watching a single player this year than I did that day and watching CJ Stroud.
Yeah. It's in talking to Shane Steichen, it's almost like a topic you should bring up, but you're kind of scared to, because it's
it's a real oh shit thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, I took the job, the conference looks a certain way, and
Right.
If I'm going to be successful here, I'm going to have to butt heads with this guy in perpetuity.
Yeah.
I mean, so
he's the guy.
Let's go 85 Bears.
I went Browns week 1 against Cincy, and I know Joe might not have been 100%, but the Browns held that offense to 142 yards. Joe only threw for 82, had those receivers out there. The Bengals were 2 of 15 on 3rd down. They had 6 first downs and 2.6 yards per play.
Boy.
And it was Myles Garrett, it was Big Z, it was JOK, that secondary, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Grant Delpit, Juan Thornhill, Rodney McLeod, just flying around and being mean out there.
Mean.
Led by Jim Schwartz. And that's when it was like, well, yeah, I'd like to have Deshaun out there, but it might not matter. We're going to be in every single game.
And maybe they're historically good.
Yeah.
That's before we caught on the whole road home split thing. And, before they got thumped in the playoffs, this is a long time ago, but they did look incredible in that spot. And I had Browns at home noted here, because when they're at home, they were incredible. But I want to go with the Montez Sweat Bears, okay? Because when they made the trade for Montez Sweat, a lot of people laughed at him. I think the guy's a really good player. You could question trading for him without getting the deal done for a couple days, because you were worried about that. And there was that moment where, like, are the Bears huge idiots? Like, did they not think about, next year and beyond, and gave up capital for this guy? But when he showed up, they were 28th in EPA. And then the back half of the season, they were 6th. I can't attribute it purely to one player, but it also goes to show why that position's so valuable. Because if you have an elite guy out there, that's the difference that he can make. And it bared out in the numbers, and it bared out watching them. It was like unlocking all the positives that they had that you really couldn't see because they couldn't get pressure.
Hit us with favorite OC, the Bill Walsh Award.
Okay. I mean, this is kind of chalky, but it's O'Connell, Stefanski, Slowick. And really it comes down to, for me, O'Connell and Stefanski. I don't know what's more impressive, right? Because they both did such a good job cycling through quarterbacks. And I want to say Stefanski, because of the sheer number of guys that he had success with and won games with. I also know that he has that dynamic offensive line. And, there's so much you can do to cover up weaknesses in your offense if you're a great scheme guy and you have an offensive line like that. I think what Kevin O'Connell did was incredible. And I know that Cleveland doesn't have a Justin Jefferson. I get that. But I'm just a huge fan of this guy. I think he's got it all. And I watching the Josh Dobbs thing, watching him make switches to Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall, even though that was a little bit curious, and they sputtered down the stretch. But I feel like with Kevin O'Connell at the helm, they're going to be dangerous next year and beyond. And I want to give him a nod. He won't win Coach of the Year. Kevin Stefanski might win Coach of the Year, but I think watching Kevin O'Connell work, I really enjoy that offense. The big chunks that it's kind of like, what do you enjoy watching more? And there are similarities in the offenses, but the big chunks that they would break off in play action, even with like a Nick Mullins, like I was just so impressed by watching them go toe-to-toe with Detroit and all these teams late in the season with less than perfect quarterbacks.
Yeah. I went Joe Brady.
Yeah.
When he took over in mid-November, Bills were 5-5. They went 6-1 after he did, scoring 27 points a game with wins over Kansas City, playing in the Super Bowl,
Yep.
Dallas, the New England defense, and Miami. And maybe it is easier to be the guy after the guy to tell Josh Allen just to go run.
Yeah.
But they were a 500 team. He changed that. I would also, and you might want to circle back to Joe, shout out Ben Johnson, who a lot of people laughed at the Jahmyr Gibbs pick at 12 or whatever it was.
And Brad Holmes making the pick.
Yeah, and some people thought Sam Laporta was not the tight end to take, and he integrated those two rookies into the offense seamlessly, and Amon-Ra got his. David Montgomery was just solid as the day is long, and Jared looked like a top 10 quarterback.
Speaking of that, I don't know if we call it like the Ozzie Newsome Award or something, but I would give it to Nick Caserio.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me that somebody comes from New England where you think like, well, they haven't screamed high-level personnel moves over the past 5 to 7 years, and you wonder how much of it was him and how much of it was Bill. The caper that they pulled off was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just incredible. So want to shout out Nick. Let's go defensive coordinator. For me, it's easy. It's Spags.
Okay.
It really is easy for me. I said all year I thought that you could argue they were the best defense in the league, and one of those situations where like I know the raw numbers don't support it, and I know there's a shiny object over here with Baltimore and there's Cleveland, but I know for sure Cleveland's not, because I see the things that manifested late in the year. I got more pushback on the Baltimore thing. I totally understand, but in the biggest stage, with the most on the line, this guy has repeatedly proven himself, and I just love their style of play. I love watching him be resourceful. And I said this to Spags when he was on the show. It's like, you probably had two plans for the season when Chris Jones was holding out, sitting up there with his agents. You had one plan, and then you thank God you got Chris Jones back. But when you've got two great cover guys outside, and you've got Chris Jones in the middle, and you've got that linebacking core, it's a lot of fun to watch. They also had to replace a talented young safety. They had to play for stretches without Nick Bolton. They had to win the – if you'd have told me they were going to win the AFC Championship with Willie Gay down, I don't even know if I'd have believed it. I put the bet in, and then Willie with the neck, he's not up, and I'm worried about spying Lamar and the whole thing. His pressures – his playing zone behind it, his giving you different looks, the disguises. And I interviewed Eric Reed on Inside the NFL this week with Ryan. Eric pointed something out that I think should not get lost. Like, coordinators are not just great because they have great schemes. They're great because they're great teachers. And that's the word that keeps getting used when you hear Spags talked about. You have to be able to teach the scheme. He obviously does it at a high level.
I went Joe Barry because the Cat refused to get fired.
Yep.
And then they go and win 6 of their last 8, get into the playoffs, and you look up and Dallas has 7 points at halftime of the wild card game. I mean, that unit...
You just gave it to a guy who got fired.
That unit got it into gear.
Yeah.
I mean, he was everybody's favorite punching bag for the majority of the year.
And he's a good guy. People like Joe. I like Joe. I hope he winds up on his feet somewhere, and they hired the guy from BC.
Jeff Halfley, yeah.
Another guy that probably got tired of NIL. But Joe's a guy who's well-liked, and it was tough for me to say the things I said this year, which were like, I just don't trust this defense at times, like some of the structures that they played in some of these big spots.
Well, it was bad.
And then they turned it around.
They turned it around and kept that offense in games.
Favorite color analyst or favorite color analyst moment, the John Madden Award. I'm going to give it to Tom Pelissero, who said mistakenly to Mike Garafolo, he was talking about Justin Tucker kicking a 60-yard field goal, and he meant to say banging a 60-yard field goal. And he said banging 60-year-olds.
Yeah, banging a 60-year-old.
Did you see Justin Tucker banging a 60-year-old? The other one for me was, I forget who it was, but he said to Maurice Jones-Drew, he's like, can they ride the D?
Yeah.
And we had like a whoa moment on air. I don't have a particular favorite call,
but the best is whoever was talking to him goes, defense. Like MJD gave him the pause look and
defense. I can fix the problem.
Yeah.
I want to say this: Greg Olsen just got supplanted by Tom Brady, which is like, it's not even getting Wally pipped. It's just that Tom decides he wants to do something. He's gonna any job Tom Brady wants, pretty much, he's gonna get it. Like if he wants to be Meg's husband, that probably could happen. You know what I mean? Like,
no way.
You know what I mean? He's good looking. He's talented. I don't know how it goes when he's in the booth, but I will say this: Greg Olsen's one of my favorites. Period. And I know some people don't like Greg. I've read that online. Surprised you could find negativity on almost any subject online. There's, I think, far more people that crave the real football intel when you're watching a game. And some people prefer somebody cartoonish or somebody who's not going to give you that stuff and dumb it down. But I prefer the guy who tells me the truth and is not sensational calling the game. And I think Greg is terrific. And I don't know what he's going to do next year. Maybe he can work for Greenlight. But he was awesome.
I think you can do a lot worse than being the number 2 guy, ask for a raise, and just wait for the next big job to open up.
Yeah, take a year off like Bill.
Well, no, just go back to the number 2 crew.
Yeah, go back to the 2 crew and then
fewer eyes, more reps, more money.
Be a
wait.
Coordinator.
Yeah.
I also want to mention Al Michaels. Okay? Because Al Michaels was so relatable. I mean, even the great Al Michaels could not stomach some of these games. It's just it was just one too many Thursday night rock fights for this guy. And at a certain point, Al Michaels, much like Joe Barry, everybody wanted his head. I thought he finished extremely strong. Once the news came out that he wasn't going to get the Super Bowl or something, they were like, Al Michaels, you're not on the
I think
call.
NBC said no for the playoffs.
For the playoffs. And I think once that bit of news got to Al Michaels, he really tried to turn it around down the stretch. He's coachable. He took the message and he finished strong.
I still cannot believe that Al Michaels doesn't have somebody in his life who wouldn't tell him
to eat a vegetable.
Guy, you're saying the word meanwhile every 5th word. It drove me crazy.
Really?
I would have to mute it.
Haven't heard it once.
Everything was meanwhile.
You're OCD.
Meanwhile, it's 3rd down and 6.
Yeah, I've never.
Meanwhile, quarterback
never
takes
even
the snap.
registered.
It's wild.
The thing that registers for me is the guy's never eaten a vegetable.
Yeah, that also is something.
How is he alive?
Says.
Yeah. Okay.
I like to be able to rely on things, and we're big fans of the Garrett family. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I took great offense to being told that I sound exactly like Jason Garrett.
I know, I heard that.
And therefore I give my little award here to Chris Collinsworth, because the Sunday night when Garrett unannounced was in the booth, I was like, screw.
Yeah.
This is not what I was anticipating. And then
kind of worked?
Not the greatest listen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then everybody's saying, hey, that's you.
That's pretty bad.
It's you on TV.
Yeah, when I saw that in the mentions, I wanted to retweet it, but I was like,
Yeah.
The Randy Moss Award. Let's give that to a free agent that cashed in. I'm giving it to Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
Talk about the ultimate bargain. In the game where everybody spends the most money, I would liken it to like Costa Rica winning a world war. You know, like Costa Rica has no military. The name of the game around the world is like, how big and bad can your military be? How many nuclear weapons do you have? What's the budget? Well, Costa Rica doesn't even have a military. They're like, we're not going to spend any money on that. It's kind of like what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did. They spent $4 million on Baker Mayfield. There are plenty of other choices they could have made. And for Baker to stick the landing on that thing and get a year like he got, even though Dave Canales is leaving and it might never be the same, or maybe he revives his career. It was a lot of fun to watch, and I'm a big fan of Baker Mayfield. So glad he's going to get paid again. He can move out of the stadium or wherever he lives now and get himself a flat.
I'm going to go Mike Evans.
Yeah.
I might go two cats here if I may. Mike Evans, 1,255 yards, 13 TDs. And Jacoby Brissett, can I read you this line?
Yeah.
In a contract year for age 31, Jacoby Brissett, 18 of 23, 224 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, big ol' ass. That's a hell of a year for Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get seen a whole lot.
No.
And when you are out there, the ball doesn't hit the ground.
He always looks pretty good when he's out there.
Yeah.
He looks like a guy that can run the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So he's going to be a popular backup pick in free agency, I would
He's stuck
imagine.
in that cycle for forever.
I thought you would have said L'Jarius Sneed. He's going to get paid.
Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, obviously, if I gave out an award to my favorite player of the 2023 season, it'd be him. Every time he was around the ball, he made something big happen. And you know what? I just like his attitude. He's kind of got that D-line attitude where he's jamming the shit out of Tyreek Hill. He's bullying Jalen Waddle. He's punking guys on the Ravens. Like, he is that dude, man. And I hope he gets paid, and I hope it's Philly. I hope Brett Veach doesn't like the guy. All right, let's go Joe Flacco Award. This is for a 35-plus-year-old guy.
In 6 days, it's his birthday. He turns 36. It's Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I was thinking about going chalky too, because how could you not? I mean, like, the guy
4,000 yards.
The guy was incredible.
Yeah.
And when you talk to quarterbacks that have played a long time, if you ask them, how's Matt Stafford going to play? I asked Jay Cutler, and Jay was like, oh, he'll play for like another 5 years. He's got a jugs machine on his shoulder.
Crazy.
Like, to have that ability, I guess it's like being Darryl Green. You can play till you're 38 at corner or whatever, or 40.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it to Jason Peters, because I think there's a big segment of the population, even in the cities that he played and is beloved, that did not know he was still playing football. Like, had no idea. Every once in a while you turn on a Seattle Seahawks game and you're like, where's Abe Lucas? Here's 41-year-old Jason Peters playing a position that nobody in their right mind is going to play into their 40s. Jackie Slater did it, okay, but Jackie Slater was like a gazelle, okay? Fucking Jason Peters is a rhinoceros, and he played into his 40s. He continues to play another hand at the blackjack table.
He's
so
now 42.
42 years old.
6'4", 328.
42 years old, dude.
Crazy. Basically Nolan Ryan out there.
He's like an F-650 with 1 million miles on it.
The Matt Slater Award, Outstanding Special Teamer.
Uh-huh.
This is easy for me. This is chalky for me. It's Brandon Aubrey.
You love that Brandon Aubrey.
The guy with the smoothest leg swing in the history of ball.
Until Kevin Burkhardt jinxed him.
He did jinx the fuck out of him.
He
almost cost us the cover.
Yeah.
Bookended his season with misses. It was a beautiful season for Brandon Aubrey.
So I guess I'll give it to Xavier Gibson, the punt returner for the Jets. And it was a long time ago, but week 1, returning that punt against the Buffalo Bills, I could argue that since Rex Ryan, that was the most hope that Jets fans had in a single moment ever since Rex Ryan and Squanch. Okay? Squanch is, of course, Mark Sanchez. When he returned that punt, it was like, wait, we were supposed to lose this game. Like, this is what happens. And if you consider your most hopeful moment comes within 4 hours of the thing that made you infinitely hopeful going up in flames in Aaron Rodgers, it is the sickest joke that was ever played on the Jets to win that opener and for Xavier Gibson to run that ball back. I mean, what a moment. It only lasted one night, but to be a Jets fan that night had to be pretty cool.
No doubt. And we're going to give an award out to a backup quarterback. Yeah.
Big Dick Nick Award.
BDN. For me, it's not. I'm not quick to give a compliment to a Virginia Tech Hokie, but it's the year of Tommy DeVito, and this Tyrod Taylor comes in and he just wins games, scores points,
Calls audibles at the 1 yard line.
so reliable. That wasn't so hot. 25 points. By the way, scoring 25
Didn't he throw
points
a pick late in one of those games, late too.
in consecutive weeks. I had very little time to prepare for this
that's
particular
good.
part. And
He did give Joe Barry the coordinator of the year.
I stand behind that one.
Yeah.
Tyrod scored 25 points in consecutive weeks. That's hard to do against
No.
the Eagles and the Rams and then beat the Eagles in week 18.
If I was going to make up an award for Tyrod, it would be like I am equally empathetic and admiring of you.
Yes.
Because I really do admire the guy. I think he's an incredible presence in a locker room. You can tell, like, people trust him, people love him. He's a good football player. He's not the best quarterback, but he's a guy who can give you a chance to win. And on the other side of the coin, I just feel bad for him because, like from getting a shot in the lungs
Yes.
to the scene at the end of the Buffalo game, the Philly game late in the year. That's the one I think I was remembering where he made a big mistake. I can't remember which game it was, but you were like, here we are again. This guy's got bad luck. He just has bad luck. I'll give it to there's one
Jaron
of
Hall, come on.
No, there's a couple guys here. There's Flacco, right? But I almost feel like you knew the guy's like a Hall of Famer, borderline Hall of Famer. And if he'd have been in that offense his whole career, he'd probably already been in the Hall of Fame.
What about the Josh Dobbs experience?
So Josh Dobbs is on my list. I'm going to give it to Josh Dobbs. That Atlanta game, although I was on the wrong side of that bet, and you were on the right side of it with the locks, and I felt it was so unfair because if Jaron Hall had played that full game, I'd have money in my pocket. But Josh Dobbs,
there was money, right?
Josh Dobbs was incredible for a run. It was, the astronaut thing. You'll never forget that. These little chapters in NFL history where you're like, yeah, I remember that. I remember the Josh Dobbs year. And then he just disappeared. He disappeared like an asteroid or some sort of space-bound projectile. He was just gone, dude.
A shooting star.
He was a shooting star. He really was. But I would like to give a separate award called the Jeremy Lin Award for a guy who had a great run in New York. That was fleeting, and that's Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah,
I think he owned the heart of the nation just because of the size of the market for a period. And coincidentally and kind of fortunately, he happened to be Italian. And there's a lot of Italian,
quite marketable.
Yeah.
How quickly we forget Tyson Bagent. It really was the year of the backup quarterback.
It was, dude.
I mean, from Zach Wilson and Trevor Siemian, we had some Bailey Zappi this year.
Don't forget Jake Browning. That guy's a baller.
Jake Browning was a baller. You mentioned Joe, who was in Pittsburgh. We had Mitch.
Mason.
And we had Mason. I mean, almost.
It was incredible.
It's a violent sport.
It speaks to the quality of the product on the field. So those are our awards. Congratulations to the award winners. And now we get into the moments. Thanks to Toyota and the brand new Toyota Tacoma. Next week, we'll be broadcasting from the NFL Media Center in Las Vegas from the most badass set in all of Radio Row. That's right, the all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma with its trail-dominating power, legendary capability, and captivating style is arriving in dealerships. And it's arriving at the 2024 Super Bowl in Las Vegas as we are helping Toyota launch the all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma. That's right. It's going to be right next to me. You'll be able to see the all-new best-selling midsize pickup in America featured on the Greenlight podcast set recorded from the Tacoma Content Studio. The all-new Toyota Tacoma dares you to come out and play. The all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma, the most powerful Tacoma ever, is your chance to experience trail-dominating power, legendary capability, and captivating style. It's time to make your off-roading dreams come true. With the 2024 Toyota Tacoma, a truck that's tough on the trail and easy on the eyes, electrifying power, maximum torque, the all-new Toyota Tacoma is the most powerful Tacoma ever. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL. The moments and the themes that define the NFL season of 2023. And just like on Mondays, we will follow our script. So we'll go best and worst flight first.
Okay. Best flight for me, Detroit Lions week 1. You go on the road against the defending champs. You're down 6 in the fourth quarter. You win the game on a drive, 9 plays, 75 yards, 5 minutes. And you build off of the season before's finish. You finish 8-2. You don't know what's coming next year, and you have to go on the road in the tough spot on a Thursday. So you had a little bit of a mini bye. The Rooks account for 100 yards of offense in Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs, and it propels you to a division title, a playoff run. You're up 17 in the NFC Championship game. I think they gained a lot from that Week 1 win in Kansas City.
I'm going to double back to when I gave Jason Kelsey the worst flight after I figured he was probably hungover as fuck after the Buffalo game. He was having so much fun. He was like a kid in a candy store. He was grabbing people's kids. Kylie said he wanted to jump through tables. Like he was unhinged. And I just figured the next day was really rough, but I didn't think about the fact that he was probably hopping on Taylor Swift's PJ. And it was a short flight. And in his mind, he's kind of in that, if I had to guess, or he hasn't announced anything, he's kind of in that mode where he's like, I'm retired. You know, when you know you're probably going to retire, that's like the best couple months of your life. You're like, this thing that I've been wondering about, what it's like not to be a football player. You talk about taking a piss before the Super Bowl and being like, what's this like? Is this my last piss as a loser? You take a leak your last day in the NFL and you're like, it's never going to be the same. I'm never going to put a helmet on again. Like I've been putting a helmet on my entire life. As uncomfortable as everything I do on a day-to-day basis is, I can't do it anymore. And it's just a big life event. And you think like, when you play, you wonder what it's like for everybody else. And the first couple months, you're like, I'm going to live my life. And I'll never forget Rob Ninkovich said this. I was like 6 months out, and I was like, hey, Rob, I don't know what people are talking about with this retirement thing, this whole CTE thing. Like, I'm great. I'm having the best time of my life, dude. This is like, I'm in the prime of my life. And he was like, wait till 3 years from now when that's worn off and you're sitting at home and you can't play football and all your friends have jobs that they've been working at for 10 to 15 years, and you got to start over, and the buzz is gone, and you're not the hot commodity you were the first guy. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, I'm just saying I'm doing good, but it's true. You know, like 3 years later, life is good, but you look back at your career and you're like, it's never going to be the same. I can't replace that. And so I think Jason being in that position, the honeymoon phase of maybe retirement, I'm giving him best flight.
Okay. I like it. Worst flight, I'll go Detroit Lions, week 21.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
I mean, what else need be said? You're up 17. It looks like it's going very well at halftime, and it doesn't end so hot.
It does not end hot. Now, I don't have a worst flight. I have here written down Alaska Airlines flight with the door. But that's wasn't a football player. And they just found out that it was bolts. It's just somebody didn't put the bolts on. Is that fucking crazy or what? Okay, let's go Bevil Conway and anti-Bevil Conway.
All right. How much time you got? Because this was a sensational year in the Bevil universe. I give the gold medal to the Tennessee Titans as the Houston Oilers against the Houston Texans.
Okay.
I think those are the best throwbacks.
Oh, they're beautiful.
The Oilers.
We also got Tampa.
Silver medal to the Creamsicles.
Yeah.
Bronze medal to the Kelly Greens.
Totally asinine.
And I think Pat Patriot and the Reds, white, red, white.
That Dolphins game was gorgeous.
Is terrific.
In New England. So was the Miami game in Philly.
When Miami wears their correct uniforms, they're hard to beat. And everybody went nuts for the Seahawks uniforms, and I think rightfully so, but they did screw up that collar, where the collar stopped right at your chest bone here, and you had the shield, which is mandated, of course. But for me, it's seeing those Houston Oiler unis.
Bevil Conway, I'm going to go off the board into college, and I'm going to go the Pop-Tart Bowl. Seeing that Pop-Tart pop out of that toaster was incredible. And I had just gotten done talking about how I hate these commercialized bowl games. Just give us a silver trophy, nothing corporate. Let's soak in the moment and not make it about the people who are cutting the checks. Now, counterpoint, the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yeah.
This guy climbed out of a toaster and they ate him.
Yep.
It was like the movie Alive, which they're remaking, where the people crash in the plane down in the Andes Mountains. They got to eat each other.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of what that scene reminded me of. So I don't know why it's getting a Bevil Conway, but I loved what the Pop-Tart Bowl did.
Now, do you recall who participated in the Pop-Tart Bowl?
Air Force, possibly?
Is that Pittsburgh?
It's harder to find than you think on the internet. It's K-State and NC State.
Okay.
Not even close.
Yeah.
So
Those bowl games, they all run together. It's just one big -3 units, +2 units, -1 unit, +3 units. Like you're just firing for a month straight and you come out like at 0.
They obviously got another bowl has to one up that next year. So
I don't know what it's going to be
coming down the pipeline.
The Lockheed Martin Bowl could do some incredible stuff.
pew pew.
Just blow up the losing team.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
High
you want to talk
stakes.
about how to incentivize players to play well in bowl games? Just make them all the Lockheed Martin Bowl.
Yeah.
Lockheed Martin's got more money than God. They got more money than Pop-Tarts. You want to talk about, Costa Rica and all these other countries? Lockheed Martin, they got more money than Taylor Swift. Okay, they could do whatever they wanted. Drone strike.
FU money.
Anti-Bevil Conway.
Who's the ACC commissioner?
It's not John Swafford anymore.
Well, imagine John Swafford out there. I want to present this trophy to the winning team, the NC State Wolfpack. Drone strike. Lockheed Martin.
Jim Phillips. Okay.
And now we reintroduce John Swafford.
Just got sued, by the way.
Did he?
John Swafford, yeah.
Did he? Imagine
ACC
that.
versus Florida State, yeah. Anti-Bevel for me. This Super Bowl, in part because we saw it within the last
So
few
much
years,
red.
and there's so much red. Now, it was posited by one Dave Damashek, the uniformant, that Kansas City, who has the choice of the jersey, would stick with the white jersey because they've been going on the road.
White's been winning lately.
Well, they picked red.
Yeah.
They want to be in their big reds. So the only way to save this, I think, is for San Fran to wear the throwbacks. The gold helmet, the white with the drop shadow, and the white pants.
Okay.
Then it's pleasing. If they go with the normal, we've just seen it. It's too much red.
We almost had
thank
some
you.
really gorgeous Super Bowls.
I know.
I mean, you were close to Bills and I don't know who else, but Bills Packers or something would have been electric. Chiefs Packers, Lions Chiefs.
Why did the Chiefs get the pick?
It
Because they're
switches
the
every
home
year.
team, I guess.
AFC
AFC,
got the
NFC.
pick this year.
All right, so anti-Bevil Conway, I've got a couple written down here. Bradley Chubb's knee, that was disgusting. The Jets fan whose tooth fell out on TV, that was gross and embarrassing. And the Broncos defense against the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to give it to the Jets fan whose tooth fell out.
Okay.
I mean, that was tough. That was really gross. I don't know if he found the tooth. I don't know if he put the tooth back in his mouth.
You're now a fellow tooth guy,
I got
though.
a toothache.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of understand what that guy's dealing
Glass
with.
houses. I do want to shout out the New Orleans Saints for just having everything right there and falling over your feet every single time. The mismatched gold helmet with the gold pant, it'll match.
Yeah, just wear the throwbacks.
That trash black helmet with the fleur-de-lis
Oh,
all over
trash.
the place, awful.
Hot garbage.
Panthers went all black this year, didn't work. A lot of no good.
Okay, so we go fly on the wall.
Okay, yeah, I can show you that for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't match.
Fly on the wall. I would love to have been a fly inside the headset of Dan Campbell. Everybody's talking on those headsets. When you the only thing you can't do is call that timeout against the 49ers in the NFC Championship.
Thank you.
You had run the ball, okay, not a great call. Either run the field goal team out to kick it,
Have another play.
or have another play ready to go.
If he said burn the ships into the headset, I don't know how I feel about that.
Right. So
Usually
I
love that saying, but in that situation, no.
And I have a feeling, for whatever reason, that it wasn't Dan going rogue on a timeout. It's probably somebody upstairs being like, timeout, timeout, timeout.
Stupid.
You just can't do it. I would love to have heard the hierarchy
that a worse
of communications.
timeout than C Webb?
No. C Webb's timeout.
I think that's probably the worst ever.
Chance.
Yeah.
Right?
Worst timeout
And C
ever.
Webb's timeout, you're actually the guy calling the timeout, so there's a visual of you calling the timeout incredulously, like everybody else looking on, like what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go, what happened with the Eagles? You know, what happened with the Eagles? Like, I have friends on that team. I don't know. I don't really know because I don't pry. You know, like in 6 months, or maybe I'll see some of them at the Super Bowl. I'll be like, what the fuck happened? You know, and maybe they'll tell me. I kind of know what happened, but I don't know the whole story. And I'd just really be interested because, yeah, teams off a Super Bowl year oftentimes struggle, but they don't usually start that hot out of the gate and then the whole thing fall out from under them. So there's that. And I think more than anything, TV executives, when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, okay, and I'm talking about the people that were supposed to have him in 5 to 7 primetime games. So you got Zach Wilson and all these people. You got the Simeon primetime spots. It was bad for business. And then for ESPN, you're Pat McAfee. You're walking into their office and you're like, hey, I want to have Aaron Rodgers on again and want to have him on ESPN. It's going to be great. They're like, well, you know, like how much vaccine do you think you're going to talk? Because like that thing's that's old hat. Probably like 2%. Might come up every now and again. Not going to talk about it much. Guy's Achilles explodes, and then we get like Alex Jones 3 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what did the ESPN people think? What did Pat? Because it's just a hard job, anyways. Pat's job is hard, and those spots are tough. Even if the guy's playing, if he's not playing, like you realize week 1, I've got to fill all this airtime. And we got to talk about stuff that has nothing to do with football. And eventually that's where I think, you know, that whole thing wore on some people.
You know what that's like? It's like a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
If you talk on the phone enough, eventually it just turns bad. Like,
and they were talking on the phone too much.
They didn't have the thing that they were going to talk about.
Right, exactly. There's nothing to talk about.
There's
nothing like, hey, what did we do last night? We want to see Godzilla -1.
Instead, they delved into human trafficking.
Is that what they did?
Well, the Epstein list.
The Epstein list.
What was the thing with that? He was getting paid and people didn't like that to be on the show. That McAfee was.
Well,
what was
McAfee
all that?
McAfee got paid a lot.
Okay. Well, and McAfee broke off Aaron Rodgers a bunch of money.
Broke off Aaron a bunch of money.
Okay.
And then there's people at ESPN that are like, what the fuck? Like, people got fired for this segment. You know, I got no problem with Pat or Aaron. Like, you know, there's things about Aaron I don't love, but I just think more than anything, it was a challenging job. Like, it's a challenging job for Pat. It's a tough position for the ESPN people. And it's also like, you know, they're trying, the reason, if I understand it correctly, like First Take was there, First Take no longer there, trying to fill that spot, trying to fill Sports Center spots. Like, it was going to be hard to equal that, even if Aaron was healthy. And then it was just like, it's like your best player gets hurt the first game. It's basically like the ESPN was the Jets.
Yeah, you can only ask them how rehab's going so many times.
So many times.
Like,
right, exactly.
By the way, it was going really well.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So best seat, did you give your fly on the wall? You did.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Best seat, I'm going to go Lovie Smith. The ultimate look what I did. You know, like he's watching football all season and he's like, look what I did. Look what I did for the Texans. And they hated me, but I'm right. And it worked out for them. And look what I did for the Bears. Like, he gave this lasting gift for the Bears franchise, and people in Chicago love him. A lot of people are like, why isn't Lovie still here coaching? You know, like Lovie was a good coach. Well, he's helping the Bears from the grave, and he's helping Houston from the grave. Now, he's not dead, but he's watching TV somewhere, and I just love to know what Lovie Smith is thinking. Like, this is me. You know, when do I get my due?
Wonder if he's still bearded.
I don't know.
best seat for me, the gal on the plane with the bad pulse, she happened to be a couple rows behind Mark Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
Diabetic Mark Andrews has his kit with him.
Mm-hmm.
What good luck.
Yeah, it's really good luck.
If
Sure-handed guy with a kit.
Yeah.
A lot of other guys might drop the ball, like Zay Flowers trying to run her back the kit, drops it, and it falls into the toilet.
Yeah.
Out of the airplane.
Yeah. By the way, what I don't know if we can do this here. Your reaction to the Zay taunting?
Fucking Josh Reynolds dropping the defibrillator.
That's good. That's good.
My reaction to the Zay taunting thing.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
It was 100%. It was 100%
taunting.
He did like the three things that
He
are
did the
the,
three
the
things.
taunting check marks.
Can't stand over the guy.
You
It's
can't
like
stand over the
A
guy,
number
or
one.
push
flex,
him,
make eye contact
or
while you're
spin the
flexing,
ball.
spin the
They
ball
could have
on his
gave him
head.
3 penalties.
It
on
was
the
it
thing.
was unbelievable.
But the Chiefs won because of the refs. Okay, so I'll go worst seat, running backs. Watching this all unfold this year, you had, tags for Pollard, Jacobs, Barkley. Even the deal that Jonathan Taylor got was not like a deal that's going to advance the ball for them. And Austin Eckler, who spent the whole offseason talking about the running back position, it was like, okay, you're up, like prove it. That didn't work out. And I'm not saying this is his fault all together, but this was a big year for running backs, and I don't feel like it got proved out anymore. Look at Baltimore. Okay, Baltimore, no star running backs. Okay, Kansas City. And I don't mean like they found production from Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell, Gus Bradley.
But they're not the guys.
Gus Bradley, Gus Edwards. They had Gus Bradley out there. He's supposed to be a defensive
He's
coordinator.
a
You can play
between the
anybody
tackle sort of guy.
at running back. And of course, their best running back gets hurt or like a major part of their operation early in the season, and they're still able to run the ball at a high clip. The Kansas City Chiefs found Pacheco late in the draft. Look at the other side. Detroit probably is the best case for paying running backs, and Christian McCaffrey is maybe a great case for giving up a lot for running backs, but I would still argue that the Niners are the only team that could have benefited to the degree that we'd be saying, hey, that was a winning move. Like, I think it's the last piece. And, it's great if you get a running back on a rookie deal, or if it's the last piece and you want to pay one or trade for one, but it's pretty tough for most teams to justify opening up the checkbook for running backs. And that's just the state of the game.
Yeah, I saw it was an older running back. I forget who it was. It's off the top of my head, but he was talking about how the running backs now and even a few years ago have kind of caused this, as far as they are the ones that are degrading the position.
You're victim blaming.
They're saying, hey, come get me. Asking for too many plays out instead of saying I'm staying. I'm not doing this third down back thing. Like
trying to be, if you could be an every down back and you had some control over your development, or you could say, I'm going to be persistent about being on the field every down. It's catch-22, right? Because your career might shorten.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do it and you prove your value that way, you are more valuable. But the truth is, most offenses now are looking for a change of pace.
Yeah.
So you got to pay the whole room,
They were saying how they almost allowed this running back by committee thing.
Yeah, and they've been willing participants in it. But I also don't think at times they have a lot of choice, because this is the way people are going. Is you got to have, with the advent of the modern passing NFL, and the fact that you need pass catching running backs, and pass catching running backs aren't always the guys that you can just give the ball to between the tackles 25 times a game.
Yeah, I mean the pass out of the backfield is way more than it ever has been. And if
not just out of the backfield, but splitting Gibbs out wide,
exactly.
and making guys positionless.
Yep.
The positionless nature of, look at San Francisco. You can play those guys all over the place. And so I think that's of bigger value to guys, than playing running back, is saying, not just, if you're a third down back or a first and second down back, that's fine. But if you can find a way to be the guy that they can split out in the slot, get matchups on, do more than just play running back, then you are really invaluable.
Or if you can block the hell out of people, like a guy, I'd like to give the running back of the year award to Kyron Williams,
Yes.
who was a revelation 5th-round pick. And in 4 years, LA probably tries to find another guy in the 5th round. That's the way this is going.
Yep.
You don't need to pay the
Yep.
stud back. But Kyron, especially for a quarterback who isn't mobile, was a godsend for those guys.
No question. Look at the AFC Championship, like Justice Hill. I said this, he was really good for him. And that was a mismatch that, they could have taken advantage of in the passing game because of Willie Gay being down, a little bit of a speed deficit. But Spags turned it into a mismatch for them because of protection.
Yep.
Uh,
Worst seat.
yeah, who you got?
The empty chair that should have been occupied by Jonathan Kraft at the Gerard Mayo presser. Now, this is a Bill Simmons take, but a little bit succession-y. Is there discord with Robert Kraft and owner-in-waiting Jonathan? It was a strange absence. And the answer was, well, something else was going on with the
I didn't even
company.
pick up on that. What else could be going on?
I don't know. The singles, the American cheese singles, they were coming out double.
Bill's a real fucking sleuth. Or like he's on to something maybe here.
I think he might be.
Okay, I'll go STL Memorial Award. This is going to go to Tom Moore. Tom Moore, he could have maybe won the 35 and over award. He's 85, and he's going to be back again for year 46 on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers staff. This guy was born in 1938, before
awesome.
Godzilla attacked Ginza. And, his first job, when you look back at it, it's wild. The guy's first job was Iowa, 1961.
Jesus. Wow.
Had the color barrier been broken?
Tom Moore didn't have to worry about that.
No, he didn't. He was coaching at Iowa. Speaking of the players on the Iowa team at that point, and by the way, he lost a lot of them to the Vietnam War, I'm pretty sure. It's hard to retain players when there's a war going on and everybody's eligible. Right, that's something coaches today don't have to deal with. You think NIL's tough, or
for the Vietnam War?
Put Tom Moore in there, yeah, because guys were getting drafted.
If you were in college, you didn't get drafted.
You didn't have to go if you got. So never mind, he doesn't have that advantage.
My dad got drafted in the CFL, and he couldn't go because he would lose his citizenship.
No way.
Yeah, so he never ended up playing the Argonauts.
No way.
Yeah.
So fuck all that. Tom Moore really didn't do anything special. I thought he had to deal with recruiting and re-recruiting. But no, honestly, if you look back at that roster, they had a stud guard named Sherwin Arthur Thorson, who I think went on to play in the league. He was 6'1", 225.
Set.
Monster back then.
So, Tom Moore has been around a long time. And don't let anybody forget that he's 85 years old and he is willingly continuing to live this lifestyle. I don't know if he has a family or if he has grandkids. Maybe the Hollow Man is like his kids.
I don't know. All the team issue gear over the years.
Yeah, you're right. But also, grandpa can't babysit because he's 85 and he wants to do an 8 to 8 at an NFL facility the rest of his life. He is institutionalized. In Shawshank, where the guy's at the grocery store and he's just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
That's like Tom Moore if he tries to go to a Publix and he's not at the dining hall. He's like
kill himself like Brooks.
I didn't say
Brooks
he's
was
gonna kill
here.
himself. You're right. He's not gonna kill himself like Brooks, but in this version of The Shining, he just goes back to the yard. So Tom Moore, congratulations on year 46 here.
Interestingly, mine was also Tom Moore.
No fucking
No.
way.
No. I love your answer.
Kyle's not here.
Mine was Dexter Lawrence. Okay.
Yeah.
On a 6-11 team,
Mm-hmm.
I know we know his name, but he was often the best player on the field. Jumped off the screen week in and week out. 17th overall pick in 2019. 6'4", 342, anchoring the interior of that New York Giants defensive line. Unfortunately, this year, balling in obscurity on a team that didn't win a whole lot.
I want to mention Jeff Ulbrich. Somebody who mentioned earlier. I mean, I talked to Hannah Gordon the other night. It was a very interesting conversation about the coaching hiring process and all that stuff. And you heard Shane say that. When I asked him the question, I kind of wondered if he'd mentioned the summertime prep because that's a lot of it. But Jeff is the rare guy that I think teams could take a look at because if you look at his side of the ball, and I know he's not going to get a head coaching job this year, but they were terrific. And that's really hard to be that good with the compounding factors going on offense that make complementary football tough, that puts your defense in tough positions. Jeff had a really nice year with that group. And so I would tip my cap to that entire group. It is so hard to deal with that. I've been there, to be a good defense playing with an offense that is actually they're not even like vanilla. They're not even average. They are hurting every side of the ball. And to watch that happen every week, and for him to get his guys ready to play, right? To get his guys into a headspace where they're like, hey, fuck it. It does not matter what happens or how many times we have to get off the bench when we hear sudden change or watch Zach Wilson or Simeon stink it up. We're going to play with a lot of passion. And so I want to give him an STL memorial as well.
I like that guy in Hard Knocks, which feels like about 3.5 years ago at this point.
Who are the worst? Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah.
He played.
Yeah.
He was a dog. All right, so who are the worst teams in the NFL this year? Obviously, number one, Carolina Panthers.
The Pats.
The Pats. You
Commanders.
mentioned a couple people in this vein on the Pats. I mean, they had a couple high performers on defense. But I guess I would say Brian Burns, man. But also a hollow man situation for Brian Burns, because he could have been worth like 3 first-rounders last year and been in LA this year. And who knows how much better they would have been with Brian Burns. So actually, maybe we're all stupid because we laughed at the Rams. But I don't think we are, because you'd be up Schitt's Creek if you gave up that many draft picks. You're just starting to get your draft picks back. Okay, hollow man.
Chalk. Kadarius Toney.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Kadarius Toney is going to be synonymous with the Hollow Man Award for years to come. That
Maybe
was one of the
rename
most embarrassing moments in regular season NFL history.
We have awards named after people.
And he's also not stopping, as you may have heard. He's contending that he's not injured at the moment.
It's so interesting.
And Andy Reid's having to say he's plenty injured.
Well, he's in the entertainment business, which, he's a rapper.
Uh-huh.
Maybe he needs
You drafted
to go
Jalen
rap.
Hyatt. I fuck hoes at the Hyatt.
Yeah, that's good,
that
isn't
was
it?
some of his
Yeah.
bars. Brandon Staley gets a hollow man.
Oh, yeah.
Just an ultimate meltdown, man. Like, and again, I have said he's going to be a good coach again, but somebody probably called him that night after that press conference. It was like, buddy, as your friend, you cannot sound that way in that situation. I don't think you're ever going to be in this situation again, but golly, man, like you take your medicine.
Yeah.
You don't try to argue your way out of a loss.
Yeah.
After a loss after a loss. The very thing that made him attractive to people, I think, in the hiring cycle was his steadfast belief in himself and his system. And that's the very thing that I think hurt him. And it's like with so many coaches, but the attitude on top of it was just. Now, I don't think he's a bad guy. I've heard good things about him. My brother really likes him. I know Khalil Mack likes him. I know guys like the guy. So I will say this. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be a good defensive coordinator again in the league, but that was a tough year. Lastly, Zay Flowers. Nobody catching the bouquet.
Yeah.
That was a tough scene on Monday night in LA, and a little foreshadowing because he dropped the football at the goal line, and none of his teammates picked it up.
Which was great for the under, if we're being honest.
Sure was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the key to 4 for 4 for me, because that was good for the Chiefs and the under.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you
Tough
got to give him
game.
a little bit.
I think he's going to be great.
No. Hey, the taunting, that's terrible and very avoid. That's a play
happened,
where he's
yeah.
being aggressive, trying to get the ball over. That's just a tough
It's
one.
just the perfect storm. You had the terrible taunting penalty on the same drive. You dropped the ball at the goal line. Like, I'm not saying drop. You fumble the ball at the goal line. I just want to say this. I got nothing against Zay Flowers. I think he's going to be a hell of a player and seems like an awesome dude. Players fuck up too, and he'll be back. I don't think he's the only reason they don't win that game. I've said it before. I think Kansas City plays them, and some people reacted so viscerally to this, but I said Kansas City wins 7 out of 10 times. What evidence do you have from Baltimore's recent playoff resume says otherwise?
Yeah.
And it's not like 7's 9. 6 is more than half the time. 7 is just one more than that.
Zay
Don't bet against Zags.
Don't bet against Chiefs.
Zay also went and sliced his finger open on the sideline.
Oh, yeah.
Being angry
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the mistakes.
Okay, and lastly, the game ball.
It's Chris Jones for me.
Yeah.
Before the year, we didn't know what was up. Now the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl after a 10.5 sack year.
Yeah.
Guy's fucking important.
Yeah, no question.
Season-long game ball to Chris Jones.
I'm going to give it to the game of football
Mm.
because it is incredible to me that this product is so fucking viable when I have heard that half the country isn't watching it because of Taylor Swift because she's a government psyop and she works for the Obamas or something like that, and she hangs out at like pizza shops. This is the type of things I'm hearing now. So half the population doesn't like Taylor Swift because she's going to endorse Joe Biden with Travis Kelce at the half of the Super Bowl. I read that too. There is a Fox News clip that I played at the beginning of the pod the other day that is insane. It's like an SNL skit. Okay, so they overcome that. They overcome the Taylor Swift thing. Well, the NFL is popular because it's quarterback-driven league. There's never been more great quarterbacks than right now. Well, half of them fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, they all got injured this year, and we had all this bad quarterback play. NFL overcomes that because ultimately it's a drama. It's a TV show. It's not the NFL's not just about the quality of play on the field. The quality of play is incredible. Some people prefer college football. Just don't tell me it's because of the quality of play. It's like being an NCAA basketball player, NCAA fan over an NBA fan. The quality of play was markedly worse, but people still love to watch the NFL because it is like a soap opera and a reality TV show rolled up into one. And quarterback injuries, while they're terrible for the game and scoring and watchability, there is a draw to like, what the fuck is going to happen when this guy takes the field? When a backup shooting guard takes the court in the NBA, it's like, all right, well, like somebody's going to get a lot more touches and, you know, like whatever. But when the guy that has been sitting there cold the entire year,
CJ Beathard,
has to touch the ball every play,
Iowa.
That's fucking crazy. You know, like in baseball, pitchers struggling, they got a bunch of them in the bullpen. There is one guy, and the NFL was able to overcome that week after week. And also the gambling stuff. The NFL overcame that. They have quietly, hold on to your hats, we're sticking the landing on integrating gambling into the NFL. It is a lot of the reason why it's so viable. It is a safety net. It could also damage the enjoyment that people have for watching the game, but they're not going to stop watching the game, especially when you're hooked into the gambling. And then on top of that, the refereeing. There was a lot of refereeing issues this year. I mean, it was like the refs are center stage every fucking year, it feels like, and the NFL is bulletproof. All these factors did not hurt the NFL. So I'll give the game ball to the game of football, which is the most perfectly crafted sport of all time in the world, maybe next to Highlight. Wasn't alive for those real bloodthirsty Highlight games back in the Inca days, but those motherfuckers down there were, I mean, they were playing for keeps. Now the NFL is right there with Highlight.
Yeah. Here's to you, football.
Yep.